Good evening, everybody. This is Ethan again, and tonight we're going to look at the Denver Broncos. Before I start, I want to say thank you all so much. The Panthers preview went really well. Gotten a lot of positive feedback for it. A lot of people have told me that they liked it a lot. They appreciated the insight. So definitely keep spreading that around. There's definitely not a time-sensitive type of thing. Hopefully more Panther fans see it, more NFL fans in general see it, and hopefully that continues its momentum and we carry that into going over the Denver Broncos. Now, the Broncos, one of the tougher teams to analyze in the NFL, just because if you look at the Broncos overall, have a whole new group of people coming in. You got John Elway coming in on up top. You have a new head coordinator in John Fox, who, as we talked about last night with Carolina, did not have to make a lot of his own draft day decisions in Carolina, so he's not exactly experienced in that regard, though he definitely probably had some insight into it. He has not had to be the decision maker. So we look at the coordinators as well, maybe to get a better gauge of where the schemes are going, what the Broncos are going to do. And offensively, they're probably going to surround the same. They have some talent on offense. It's basically just promotion from a coordinator who was on the team before. Defensively, they have a new defensive coordinator. His name is Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen hails from New Orleans. He was a Saints coach. He was an assistant under Greg Williams. So even though he could make some changes to his defense, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, we can think for now that whatever they're going to do, they will have in mind a New Orleans style 4-3 blitzing aggressive defense. And we've already know that they're going to be switching to a 4-3, or at least some sort of more hybridy type thing. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to be primarily a 4-3. So looking at their first round pick, they got number 2 in the draft. And they're definitely not in the market for a quarterback yet. They'll probably give Orton next season. If they're really bad, then that gives Elway a chance to select the guy from Stanford, number 1 overall next year. So there's no reason not to just try with Elway and Tebow. I feel bad for Tebow, I really do. I don't think he was that bad last year, and I think he's sort of a victim of circumstance. But regardless of that, number 2 overall. So since they're moving to a 4-3 defense, you have to see what pieces are in play for them to move to that defense. And honestly, this team, they were not good on defense last year. Their offense was passable. They have some very good pieces on that side of the ball. They have some young pieces on that side of the ball as well. I think that they're going to focus more on defense in this draft. So I think that looking at how to mock Denver, I definitely have a large majority of their picks focus on that side of the ball. Maybe they do a couple on offense, I'm not exactly sure. But I definitely think that defense is going to be the calling card for the Broncos. So, looking at the defensive philosophy that they have, they definitely need a defensive end. And that's because Elvis Dumervil is too small to play a 3-down defensive end position in this defense. You look at what they had in New Orleans, they had a big defensive line. They had 2 defensive tackles that were over 300. They had Will Smith and even Charles Grant in the pass on the edges. Big guys who could hold their own at the point of attack, who could stop the run and open it up for their smaller linebackers to range around and make plays. Dumervil is a little bit miscast in this defense, and that's not a good thing for the guy. I think that he could end up moving to outside linebacker because outside linebackers in this type of defense tend to blitz a lot, and that's probably what Dumervil is best at. But that means that they have a definite opening opposite Robert Ayers at defensive end. So I've heard Robert Quinn to them. Not sure I'm buying it. I don't think he's quite stout enough at the point of attack, and I don't think he's quite big enough for this defense. My guy for Denver, as of now, is Daquan Bowers. I think that he is the kind of defensive end who they're going to really want with this pick because he can hold his own the point of attack, he can push the pocket. He'll be a great bookend with Robert Ayers, who was a little bit underrated because he was always miscast in that linebacker role. He's going to be a lot better now with his hand back on the ground, and he didn't have a terrible season last year either. So, in terms of who I think they're going to take, I definitely think for now Bowers is the guy, and I think that Peterson could find his way there, although, once again, I'm not sure they're going to want to keep my cornerback if they draft him, though definitely a secondary of Bailey and Peterson would be scary, and he would possibly be the best pick at that point, the best player available. I'm just not sure that they're going to take him over Bowers when Bowers comes in a bit more of a position of need and also arguably has the same amount of talent that Peterson does. Not that I believe that, but that's what some people believe. So I think that the prohibitive favorite, number 2 overall at this point, of course this could change over time, is Daquan Bowers. So I think that he would be the guy I would look for at that pick. Now, looking at maybe the round 2, there are a couple of guys who jump out at me. Once again, both on the defensive side of the ball. One of them is Martez Wilson, linebacker of Illinois. He has a lot. He can play all 3 positions in a 4-3, which is really nice. And he has great speed. He reminds me a lot of the linebackers in New Orleans. Very rangy, covers a lot of ground, can blitz, can drop back a bit. He can basically do whatever you want a player in that position to do. And I think he could be a large possibility there. And imagine that linebacking core if Dumervil moves back. You got DJ Williams, Martez Wilson, Elvis Dumervil. That might be a top 15 linebacking core the day they step out in the field together, eventually becoming top 10 or even top 5 over time. That is a great group, rangy players, really fast, can cover just about anything, and can rush the passer really well. Dumerville's not great in coverage, but we'll put him on the weak side. We'll leave Wilson on the strong side where he can turn and run and showcase his athleticism. Another guy who could be there for them, Bruce Carter, at the 46th overall pick if they don't take Wilson early. He looks like another really good Sam linebacker who would be a good complement to Dumervil in terms of his athletic skill set. And also he slipped a little bit in the draft. So that could be interesting as well. Now, if they don't take Wilson at 34, another guy I think they could look at is fellow Fighting Illini Corey Lugitt. Big defensive tackle, good for the scheme, and he's just overall a solid fundamental player. I like him a lot, and they need bigger guys who can push the pocket. They have a lot of age at that position. They don't have tons of young talent to clog up the middle. And this is their time. This is the draft to get defensive line talent because there's a ton of it. Later in the draft, I would look at Southern guys and I'd look at Notre Dame guys. Broncos love Notre Dame. And the scouting staff probably isn't so different from the past. So one player, if I had to pick one player from like the 3rd to 7th round range who I think most fits the Denver Broncos, it would be Ian Williams, defensive tackle in Notre Dame. Big guy, big defensive tackle, decent speed, can clog holes, can penetrate a bit, and in the 4th round or so, I think he would be a really nice guy to get. He can hold at the point of attack. He has good hand placement, has a nice little swim move going on there. And once again, he fits that defensive scheme, the big defensive tackle, the Remy Adele, if you will, who can hold that point of attack for the Broncos and help free up Ayers and Bowers and Dumervil and even Martez Wilson or Bruce Carter if they get him and DJ Williams to make plays. There are other guys who I could see them getting later in the draft, other positions I could see them looking at. But I definitely, when I look at the Broncos, they have a lot of talent on offense. Demaryius Thomas, hopefully he gets better pretty soon. Noshawn Moreno, I still believe in as a running back. And even then, if they go for one later, pretty negligible. I'd look at maybe guys who can cut and run. They have the zone blocking scheme. They take a backup offensive guard, someone like Austin Barrick of Georgia Tech, someone who's athletic at the position. Could definitely be the guy who they choose. I mean, the Broncos are one of the more difficult teams to project just because we don't know how they're going to end up drafting with the coach. We don't know how they're going to end up drafting with the front office, the new minds up there. So, got to be a little bit conservative, a little bit tentative with the way that you approach them. But I think that if you look at the scouting staff, look at some of the old propensities, look at the defensive coordinator scheme, you're able to at least get a good picture of what they're going to do. So I think that's all for the Broncos. Any questions, tweet me, comment, do whatever. And the Panthers video is going to be linked below. Remember, tweet this to your friends, post on your friends' message boards. Do whatever you want with this video. I want it to get around. I love being seen, and I want people to either agree with my opinions or disagree and tell me why and give me some reasoning. So just, spread this around, and tomorrow we will be dealing with the team with the 3rd overall pick, the Buffalo Bills. So, see you later.